Welcome to the importance and power of reading. I'm Michelle, the computer lady, your host. During some awful dark times in America, Black people were denied the ability to read, to learn how to read, to write, or to even own books. And that has hampered our communities up until this day. Now we're going to have important conversations about the importance and power of reading. Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's new segment on the importance and power of reading. I have a dynamic sister that's coming on. Met her through my Toastmasters organization and the Black Achievement Fund. Oh, you're going to enjoy this interview. Everybody, welcome Sister Pansy Walker. How you doing, Sister Walker? What's going on today?
Hi, how's everybody doing today? I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to your show.
Oh, you're epic. I couldn't wait to get you on here. Now, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're from, some of the businesses you do, what you do for a living. Let's, as they say, get into this thing.
Okay, as you said, my name is Pansy Walker, Pansy like the flower. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, loving Brooklyn all day long. I have siblings, obviously. We've all moved out of New York at this point, but I also have children. My children were born in New York. They are now DC, here, North Carolina, have one up in Baltimore, and we are still a family. I have some grandchildren, believe it or not, have grandchildren. I am also an international educator and speaker. I live in the Jonesboro area. I have taught in New York, Atlanta. I've taught in Abu Dhabi. I've had some business down in Costa Rica. Right now, I have a consulting firm, facilitating leaders, coaching, and consulting, where I specifically work with math teachers across the globe.
Wow, you work with math teachers. So, what kind of work do you do with math teachers?
Well, I'm sure everyone listening knows that there is a challenge with math teachers, not just in terms of their abilities, but just getting a quality math teacher inside of your building, a teacher that's confident, a teacher that's professional, a teacher that knows how to get her content across in such a way that our students are learning, they're making connections, they're able to communicate. So I work with math teachers in that way. Some math teachers have content, they don't have pedagogy. Some teachers have pedagogy, they don't have content. But we all know that in order to reach our children, we have to make sure that it comes together in such a way that they're getting it and they can take those skills and apply them to real world situations, because we all live in the real world.
Oh, I totally agree with that assessment. So, thank you for that because when we have qualified educators, we have a better community and our children learn more. So, I really, really appreciate the work that you're doing right now. Now, let's dive into a few of these questions. Number one, did you like reading as a child?
You know, Sister Michelle, I knew you was going to ask me that because I've been watching your podcast. And yes, I really had to talk to my mom because I started reading quite early, but I wasn't sure like when and where and how. But my mom told me that when I was quite young, 2 and 3, she used to take me to the library all the time. And she would pull out these big picture books, with all the pretty pictures. She said we would be in the library for hours. And she would read to me, and then I would then read to her. And I was like, well, Mom, how was I doing that? She was like, trust me, you was doing it. So reading has been something that I have always done. I used to do it a lot when I was a teenager just to get out of doing work. I would be like, I'm going to my room and read. I'm reading something. And of course, who's going to say stop reading? That was always a go-to for me. So I love reading. I love to see. I love to experience what it has to say. And it gives you an opportunity to just expand and just to explore.
Now, you said, because your mom, you talked with her and she said you're reading 3 and 4. So your mom, was she your greatest influencer, or did you have a mentor as well, a teacher, your dad, your village? How
I'm
did
gonna
you come to
say
this love of reading?
I'm gonna say that my mom probably got me on the track. She always encouraged us to go to the library. She even used to take us to the library. And as I said, I grew up in New York City. And so going to the library was like you walk around the corner and up the block. The library is right there. So we went to the library a lot. We took out a lot of books. It also gave us the opportunity to be responsible because, you know, if you take the books back and they're late, you have to pay. And if you have to pay, you have to pay your own allowance. So my parents were very strict on that. Okay. So then you realize that, well, then I'm not going to be able to get any more books because now I have to pay. So then you have to get into that cycle of let me read my books, take them back. If I need to recheck them out, I can. So my mom was very influential in that. And my dad as well. You know, my dad taught me a lot about education, about how education was important. And as you say during your prelude, there was a time in our history when our people could not read, when they were taken, reading was taken away from them. And he was very instrumental in making sure that we were aware of the challenges that our people have gone through and how it's your responsibility to not just yourself and to the community, but to the world at large so that you can read, understand, know what's going on, be accountable and not lost in what's going on around you. So I'm going to say that my parents were very, very much my role models as I was growing up.
That is absolutely awesome. And saluting, hats off to mom and dad for raising such a fine young woman. Now, we talked about the age you started reading, but do you remember one of your favorite or a few of your favorite children's books that you loved?
I remember coming up, I used to love to read Judy Blume. I remember Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. For whatever reason, that book really did something for me. I remember reading books that were biographical. I fell in love with Mary McLeod Bethune because I read a lot of biographies because I wanted to know like about people that were just not here. And so I fell in love with her because she did something. I remember one thing that she said in her book was, I wanted to make a path and I saw that there was no path for me. So I created my own path. And that's something that has stuck with me all of my life. There are things that you're going to want to do in life, and you're going to see a roadblock. It's going to be something there that's a barrier. You have to be able to say, I'm still going over there. I'm still going to make that happen because that's what I want to do. That's where my heart lies. And it doesn't always have to be about money. It just has to be about going over there and being intentional. And sometimes, I'm sure you know, you just got to knock them barriers down and keep it moving.
Oh, I totally agree. Now, what are you reading these days? What are some books that you would recommend to young people or people that want to learn something new today?
Well, I'm doing a lot of reading on biographies. I find the Haitian Revolution quite interesting to me, believe it or not. Because as you know, Haiti was the first country in this area that gained its independence. And when I look and see what's going on in Haiti nowadays, I'm always wondering, like, why is this going on over there? So that opened up an avenue of thought. And then that took me to reading a little bit about the French Revolution, because there's a connection there. Then I read a lot of books by, it's just so many. I mean, I could just give you a list of books. I'm not sure that they're children books, but they are books that lend itself to knowing what's going on in your world. And that's very, very important to us as people because we don't live in a shoebox. As I said, I grew up in New York City and Brooklyn. Just got to say Brooklyn. I grew up in Brooklyn and there was a lot going on in the city. So I did not grow up in a sheltered place where there was only there was a little bit of everything going on. But as a young child, I understood this is not everything. There's more to life than just New York. And so I just explored, and I would really like for people to know books are your way out of where you are. Get a good book, read a periodical. It's so much out here to read now, especially with the world at the palm of your hands, in your cell phone or your tablet or whatever you have. We just have to learn how to utilize these devices such that they're taking us where we need to go.
Oh, now you said a mouthful with that one. Sister Pansy, check this out. Time goes by fast. We got to take our first commercial break, and we'll be right back with
Okay.
my guest, Sister Walker, on the importance of power reading. Everybody stay tuned.
Since 1877, Jackson State University has been training students for a life of service and leadership to impact our global society. Ranked among the best HBCUs in the country, Jackson State University offers 47 undergraduate, 37 master's, 1 specialist, and 13 doctoral degree programs. Whether you're interested in the arts, education, public health, the sciences, or business, we're here to take you from ready to JSU ready. Visit jsums.edu and apply today.
Are you a company, business, or service that believes in social responsibility? Would you like to make a positive impact? You can. You can sponsor this program and be seen by 2 million viewers on the PIC TV network. Call 770-367-1268 for more information today. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Importance of Power of Reading. I have an epic and dynamic guest. She's outstanding. She has her own business, and what she does is she helps our teachers, especially our math teachers, become better. She helps to make sure that they're giving a quality education. Sister Pansy, thank you so much. Now, let's continue with a few questions because you talked about some of the books that you were reading. And as an educator, I want to know, how did reading, or how has reading made you successful on your journey as an educator and a professional? Please tell.
Well, let's just say this. Reading is fundamental. And I know that might sound like a cliche, but it's really very important. I tell learners, students, people, whoever it is that I'm speaking with, before you can do math, you have to know how to read instructions. You have to know how to read instructions. You have to know how to read directions. If you want to do something very simple as drive a car, you have to know how to read. So as it relates to my journey in mathematics, obviously I had to go to college, had to know how to read there. I had to know how to read textbooks and journal articles and math problems. You know, Sister Michelle, one of the biggest problems that we have in math education is word problems. And it's not just reading the words, but it's the comprehension. Then it's the application. Then is taking the math and connecting it to the words. And I tell learners all the time when I'm engaging with them, when you're doing a math word problem, you're literally translating from one language to the next. And for my Spanish speakers or my multilingual learners, I tell them, you already have this skill because you have already translated from Spanish to English. Now you already have you know what to do. And I actually use my ELL learners to teach my native speakers the process. What are you doing? How are you making that happen? And so reading is something that we have to make sure that we understand that it's not capsulized in a classroom. It is reading beyond the classroom. It's in the whole world. It's in your whole sphere. Every place you go, you're going to have to read. And when I say read, I'm not just talking about decoding. I'm talking about decoding, and I'm talking about comprehension, and then there's the application. That's the mastery. And that's where the mystery gets unveiled, when you can apply and then connect. And isn't that the world in which we live? You have to connect.
Oh, not only do you have to connect, it takes me back to a little story that I had as a kid, because I've always known since I was 8 years old that I wanted to be a philanthropist. Well, in order to be a philanthropist, you have to make enough money in order to sustain your household, but be able to do all these good works. You can do other forms of philanthropy where giving your time as well. But when we talk about the world stage, we talk about connecting. We have to know the power in these words. And so when I told my instructor, I told my teacher, I want to be a philanthropist, she was like, you know what that is? I said, yes, ma'am. I'm going to be rich and I'm going to help people all over the United States so there won't be any more people in poverty. And she was like, wow. So what you do in getting people to really open up their mind and open up the pathways to learning, that's absolutely awesome. And since we're here on that, I need to ask you, what do you think the state of literacy is for our small children, our adolescents, and our adults? And if we're not where we're supposed to be, do you have any suggestions or any steps for parents out there that might be viewing on how we can make our society, our communities, and our schools better around this?
Well, I'm not sure if your listeners are aware, but there was a program, a reading program that came out of, I want to say Teachers College, Columbia University, not too long ago. And this program was one that has now been, we're not using that anymore. And this program was, and I just read this very recently, that's why I'm bringing it up. This program had been applied in so many different school systems across our nation. And they finally realized that it's not doing what we need doing for our children. There was also a program, because, education goes from one side to the other, from one side to the other. There was a program many years ago where it was called whole language reading, I believe. And what it was is you show a child an apple and you said apple, and you said apple, and you showed them the word apple. And by some osmosis process, it was said that they were supposed to learn how to read using that system. I believe, as well as most educators, we have to start our children off the way we started off. Phonics. A, I, A. Give each letter a sound so that the children now understand how that's connected. What is an A? A is apple, but A can also be ant, A. So it has different sounds. And that's something that they can see, they can hear, and they can actually experience it. Learning is about having an experience. It's not so much about having knowledge and you're not applying it to anything is useless. I would suggest to all parents, especially of very young children, read to them. Big picture books. I mean, even when they're quite young, babies, you can sit a baby on your lap and just show him pictures. And as you're showing him pictures, you're talking, which is, again, you're communicating with him. He can hear it. He can see it. And as he's doing that, he's learning different words. He's learning that this is something we do. We read the book. It's very interesting that you can, if you're doing this with a baby, a young child, when that child gets a little bit older and they learn how to hold the book, if you give them the book upside down, they will automatically turn it right side up because they've been exposed to what it should look like. They know, oh, this is not, the pictures look crazy. So this is something that we can do as our children are very young. As they move into elementary school, again, start taking them to the library. Take them to Barnes and Nobles. Take them to places where books are in excess. Get yourself a library in your home. Years ago, I know some of your listeners will remember, everybody had a set of encyclopedias in their house. That was before internet, guys. I know some people don't know anything about that, but everybody had a set of encyclopedias, and you had books in your house. You had magazines. Do you remember Ebony magazine, Essence magazine, Jet magazine? I remember having those magazines in our home. I remember going to the beauty store, to the beautician shop or the barber shop, and they would be there just in excess for you to just pick them up and just look through them. That's a form of reading and exposing your children to something more than what they have. Shut the TV off, the device. Get your child together with you and sit down and say, "Hey, come over here. Let's read." And you don't even have to say let's read. Let's look at this. That does it for them. And there's quite a few studies out these days about how this digital society affects our children. I notice with children, and I'm talking about elementary school children, or even up into middle school, when they're on the device for extended long periods of time, they are literally crazy when you tell them to put that device down. It's like they're going through withdrawal. That's what it is. That's what the research says. The child has to go through withdrawal because they've been enticed this long. All of this stimulus has been going through their brain. And then when they go to school, you wonder why they can't sit down, why they're not able to focus, because it's not enough of this going on. So these are some things that parents can do to kind of minimize that and read with your child. Make it an experience. Cook something. Hey, let's cook some beef stroganoff. Let's look for a recipe. You can use the digital, whatever it is, look for the recipe, pull it up. What does it say? Because now you're teaching them that reading is important. It has a purpose. And if you're doing a recipe, you're actually implementing some math. And really, Sister Michelle, that whole process is a STEM activity because they're reading, they're doing science, because cooking is science. They're measuring, and at the end, they're going to have a product. That's exactly what STEM is. And you can do that in your home.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Sister Pansy, this time flies. We got to take another small commercial break. We're going to be back with my phenomenal and outstanding guest, Sister Pansy Walker, as we talk about the importance and power of reading. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Michelle the Computer Lady, author and children's book publisher of the Mommy Readers Collection series of books. Well, we know how important it is for us to read, but we also know how important our public hospitals are. We're here in Atlanta. My public hospital is Grady. They saved my life. And I would like to give back, and I need your help to do so. I've created a new fundraiser called Building Towards Our Future. And what's going to happen is we're going to make sure, you and I together, that Grady keeps on serving the marginalized, the poor, and the indigent in the Atlanta metro area. All right, stay tuned for more announcements. I'm going to be telling you how real soon. Thank you for joining me in this fight to make sure that we can live with Grady. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the importance and power of reading. I have, this guest is epic. She's been giving us ideas and ways to help our children be engaged more and less when we talk about video games, those things. Sister Walker, you talked about the study of these video games and how they affect the adolescent mind and how they affect a child's mind. But let me ask you, because when we talk about reading, especially with our boys, a lot of times boys have a hard time quieting their minds, and I don't think video games are making it any better. So give us some salient ways that not only can they pull away from the video games, geared more towards reading and loving reading.
Just like anything else, we do what we love. And that's across the board. Any age group, you do what you love. Let's just say you have a young boy, 10 years old, 10, 11 years old. What makes them tick? They like video games. We're not here to demonize anything, okay? They like video games. Okay, you like video. Let's do some research on that video game. Who created it? Where did it come from? What algorithms? There's a word. What's an algorithm? What's an algorithm? As they're researching what they love, now they're learning the intricacies about how it works, what has to happen for it to go down. Kids like to watch these Marvel movies, okay? Marvel is big, okay? Do you know how a Marvel movie is actually made? The whole digitalness of it, those are all career fields that as the child is investigating the how, these are career fields that they're exposing themselves to because they don't have a clue. You know, I'm talking about taking our youngsters from being consumers to being producers. But you can only be a producer if you understand, if you know, if you acknowledge, how did this come about? Yes, how about this? You're watching a video or a game. Stop the game. What do you think is going to happen next? Play again. Did that meet your expectations? How could you have made it better?
Yes.
All of these are ways that we can incorporate what they're doing, but add a little critical thinking to it, add a little problem solving to it, add those spices that they need in order to be successful. Again, what do you love doing? Once you can center on what they love, what they like, even these little characters that they like, whatever it is, let's see how we can take that and move it forward, opposed to letting them just sit in these areas where they're just sitting here doing. Let's go outside and figure out how this works. You know, if they're playing this game, let's see if we can create an obstacle course outside. Or maybe we'll go to the park where there actually is an obstacle course and see how does that work. So it's just about being creative. And we know that we are very, very creative people. We have to get our youngsters to the point where they are aware of their level of creativity because they're not getting that anywhere else. They're just not. They're doing this, they're doing that. They come home, they're in front of the tablet or the device, and that's pretty much their life. But if we can take that and incorporate more, then they'll be saying to you, I want to get this new game. Well, let's go home and do some research. Let's see what this game is about. Who made it? Where did it come from? How much does it cost? All of these will enable them to read because that's how you're going to get the information. You have to read.
I totally agree with that assessment. So parents, she's giving you some wonderful tips. Taking the children to the library, making sure that they have books. Now, let's talk about, because you talked about STEM, but let's dive into STEM because you know I love STEM. We talk about science, technology, engineering, and math. And you're a mathematician and you help math. How can we make sure that our kids are gravitating towards STEM? What are some other things that we can do to pull them into the STEM rail or make them conscious that we're already here because STEM is now and the future?
I would suggest the exposure. You know, Our past president, Barack Obama, used to say that we have to prepare our students for careers that we don't know anything about. And are we not seeing that now? There are career fields that are here in our face, and they don't even have enough people to actually do this work because they're not prepared. And it's not that they can't be prepared. It's just that because they have not been exposed. I know a young man who does drums and drones. Do you know how fabulous that is? He plays the drums and he teaches the kids about droning. That's a real life thing that is going on right now. How many of our children know about that? They know what a drone is, but are they aware of how drones connect to the world at large and how it's used, how it can be used? And sister, buying a drone is not that expensive. You don't have to get the most expensive drone in the world, but you can get them a drone that will help them. So I think with STEM is all about exposure. Here's another one. I had a friend who shared some architectural plans with me. I made copies of them and I gave them to the students and I asked them, what is this? What is this? How can this help? How can this help? What is this going to do? How is it used? And so again, you're not telling them, you're giving them the opportunity to be great. And that's what we're doing with our students. We're giving them the opportunity to bring their life skills, although they don't have much, but whatever little minimal life skills that they have, bring it. And let's expand on what you know. Because you know what happens? They start to realize, I need to know this, or I want to know that, or how am I going to make this work if I don't know this? So now you're pushing them to go into an area of interest that they like.
I absolutely love those suggestions. Now, we also talked about having books in the homes. How about, because I'm a big proponent of giving children thesaurus and dictionaries in their hand and looking up words with them and showing them the practice of that. Because a lot of times I have students or I've had people that I've taught that didn't use the dictionary, and there are literally millions of words. We say the same, I think, 10,000 words over and over again, but just to broaden your vocabulary, just to broaden your knowledge, just to bring in that power. Because I had students that like to say curse words. And I'm like, there's so many other words that you can say that are just as potent, just as damning, but you have a better way to say them. So the power of words are phenomenal. So Sister Pansy, do me a favor. For anybody that would like to reach you to get your consulting services, would you tell everybody how they can reach you, the name of your company?
Certainly. Well, the name of my company is Facilitating Leaders, Coaching and Consulting LLC. And that's what we do. We facilitate people to be leaders because believe me, everyone is a leader. All right, I'm going to say that again. Everyone is a leader. Mom, you are a leader in your home. Dad, you are a leader in your home. Older brother and sister, you are a leader in your home. Everyone has the leadership abilities. Leaders are not born, they're created. That comes from John Maxwell. Leaders are not born, leaders are created, and we have the opportunity to create them. So the name of my company, again, is Facilitating Leaders, Coaching and Consulting LLC. You can reach me at Walker at flccnetwork.com. I'm looking forward to hearing from each and every one of you for a consultation, for just a conversation about how and what we can do to assist our children in being who they need to be. And when I say children, I'm not talking about just little Billy elementaries. I'm talking about the elementaries. I'm talking about the middle schoolers. I'm talking about the high schoolers. And believe it or not, we have some even above that level who also need some of these skills to help get them activated and immobilized to do some of the great work that they already need to do. It's already embedded in them.
Sister Pansy, you have been a blessing to my soul today. Mathematician, business owner, coach, speaker, you do it all, Renaissance woman. Thank you so much for stopping by and talking with me and my folks out there about the importance and power of reading.
Thank you for having me. And let me say this, I give you high hopes, thumbs up for what you're doing for our community. You are doing an excellent job. People are listening, people are hearing, and you, ma'am, are also a wonderful, wonderful woman who are doing excellent things for our community. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Sister Pansy. So, parents, you heard it right here. Take your kids to the library. Find out what they're interested in. Really engage in that interest and bring them up. Everyday activities, cooking, measuring, all these things connect. You want them to do math well? They have to read well. Now that you have some of the keys, don't forget to stop by next week and join us for our next conversation on the importance and power of reading. See you then.
Black life, Black inspirational stories, education, luxury, health features. Welcome to the new Black television, Pick TV network, where being in the Black is luxury, it's accountability, and it's seeing what you look like in the new face of television. Pick TV network, come join us.
You know what's going on in our society, book banning, and over 38 million children don't have books in their homes. Join me for some exciting segments as we talk about the importance and power of reading with my guest on the Pick TV Network, Channel 1000.